false gods, Serapis, Christus, Jesus Christ, Caesarea, Borgia, curses we are under. Deuteronomy chapter 28 verse 36. The Lord shall bring thee and thy king which thou shalt set over thee unto a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, and there shalt thou serve other gods, wood and stone. I want to give all the honor, glory, and praise to the Most High, Yahawah, and His only begotten Son, YAHAWASHI. Double honors to my elders, who are the elders of all of Israel, and taught me this truth through the Spirit. Singing honors to the elect, all you sincere brothers out there on the highways and byways, and it's also uploading the videos, risking your lives and freedom to do so. And peace and blessings be to the 1/3, which mainly consists of women and children. And peace and blessings be unto the confusion of faces in the four corners of the earth. Shalom. As you see on the screen, there's a statue made of stone in Rio de Janeiro. And this was created and erected for our people, the Northern Kingdom, right? The Spanish-speaking tribes to worship, because when you go into it, you have to understand that a lot of our Spanish-speaking people are Roman Catholics. And you have to go back to Greco-Roman times. That's why the Bible says there's nothing new under the sun. You have to go back to Greco-Roman times. Oh, pardon me. Hold on one second. You have to go back into the Greco-Roman times to understand why people still worship the same gods back then and here today. Because Serapis, Christus, Jesus Christ, I don't like saying that name, but I'm saying that for educational sake, and Caesarea, Borgia are the same entities, right? Dating back to 323 BC, all the way up to 1400s, 1500s, with Caesarea Borgia, who was the son of Pope Rodrigo Borgia, the sixth Pope of Rome. And I mentioned this before in the past. Go and look at the TV series by Showtime called The Borgias. They give you damn near like a 95% accuracy on who the Borgias were. They were the biggest crime family during that time. Notice the father was a pope. Let that sink in. Okay? And what happened was he forced his son image on our people. There's also a scene there over there in Rome where they had a Native American. So that let you know, man, that they know who we are. They know what they've done to us. You really should watch it. It's a very good series. But they forced that image upon our people. That's why the Lord said that we will serve gods, wood and stone. And as you see this humongous statue in Rio de Janeiro, right? Because Brazil will be Asher, the tribe of Asher. If you look at the bottom, there is a plethora of people there. And people go there from all over the world to go and worship this idol. So going to the article, historical evidence that proves Jebus, Christ, or Crisco oil never existed. It was created by Constantine Romans. Yahawashi existed. Yahawashi, the only begotten Son of the Most High, did exist. But this other individual was just an entity or a man wanting to be a god. So let's get to it. In the article, Ptolemy 1, Merriam, Setapenri, forgive me for my pronunciation, but I'm trying my best. This is 367 BC through 283 BC. Ptolemy ruled over Egypt. 4 generals that Alexander the Greek had. Alexander the Greek did not come into power until it started around 323 BC when he started his escapade, so to say, his expedition in the known world. Known world meaning that it had nothing to do with the Western Hemisphere where we live in today, known as America, the mystery of Babylon. So during that time, from 323 BC all the way up to like about 187, 80, if I'm not mistaken. the Greco-Roman Empire was ruling under the so-called white man known as Edomites back then. Look up Herod the Edomite. Yeah. The Edomites in the Bible will be the so-called white people today. But that's another story. So let's get back into this article. It says, as Soda means savior, became the first European pharaoh, Edomite, pharaoh of Egypt through military force led by Alexander the Greek, aka Alexander the Great. When Ptolemy became pharaoh of Egypt, he wanted the Egyptians to consecrate him as a god. He wanted to be a god because that was the title of all the pharaohs of Egypt were called prior to him. However, the people of Egypt refused to call him a god because they knew the only reason he became a pharaoh was through force. So in 305 BC, you got to remember, when you go into BC, you start counting down. So if it's from 323 BC, and then it goes to like 305 BC, that means that you're going forward in time, but you're counting down before the common era. It's called BC, before the common era. AD stands for Anno Domini, or Domini, which means the year of my Lord, or the year of Yahawah, by Hashem YAHAWASHI. Remember, 1,000 years to us is 1 year to the Most High. I'm sorry, hold on, I'm sorry. 1,000 years to us is 1 day to the Most High, forgive me. So we're in that year, 2 days later, right? 21st century, right? Anyways, I'm sorry I'm putting so much on you right now, but pay attention. However, the people of Egypt refused to call him a god because they knew that he became a pharaoh through force. So in 305 BC, Ptolemy took the title of pharaoh, taking the Egyptian name Miri Amun, Setepinri, or Para, which means beloved of Amun. Amun means God, chosen of Ra. Ra means God. And side note, I went through all religions and all kind of aspects of life, and the Lord brought me right back to the Bible. So no one can ever try to disprove the Bible. I remember when I was following Malachi York, who was actually the master teacher of Polite. I remember he mentioned the first ray, like the first ray of the sun, was known as Atum. At noon, the highest is known as Atun, and at the end, the last light, the twilight, will be a moon. All right, Atun, a moon. All right. Anyhow, that's some other Yiddish. So, and because the Egyptian refused to acknowledge him as a god, he began killing the people of Egypt, which caused the Egyptian priests of Memphis to give in to his request by agreeing to consecrate him to priesthood in order to save their own lives. Now, don't keep saying the Egyptians in this article. You have to go and read. You have to read the book of Acts. You have to read, the other gospels that Paul wrote. Because when it speaks of the Jews in Alexandria was in Egypt, people. So you had Israelites that was there as well. So you had Israelites that was worshiping Serapis Christus, also known as the flower pot god. And they were forced to worship that god. Just like when you watch Roots, right? Wasn't Kunta Kinte forced to be called Toby? So don't you think that this same entity today that our people worship was forced upon them, just like this major statue that you see was forced upon our people, which is why a lot of Northerners are Roman Catholics, because it was forced upon them. Because like the Roman Catholic came from it's crazy. It really came from I want to say Spain, because the Spaniard conquistadors pretty much conquered all from Mexico all the way down to Chile, right? Notice they call them Hispanic and Latin Americans. Latin is what was spoken of in Greece and Rome. I'm sorry, it was spoken of in Rome. Like the Elder Apostle Gabar always said, you must know the history in order to know the mystery. So I'm kind of giving you a crash course through the spirit. Anyhow, let's get back. So it says the key words in the above passage to keep in mind during your reading: Miramun, Setiprenary, Soder, which are words that were used to create the fictitious character of Jesus Christ. Now I'm gonna start right there because we know YAHAWASHI lived. The difference is that they came with a different entity. All right, let me get that. It says Jesus modeled on Caesarea Borgia. Remember, Caesarea Borgia was the son of Pope Rodrigo Borgia. And Rodrigo Borgia said, if I sit in the throne as God, like the Pope, think he's God. They go back to 2 Thessalonians, right? He that sat in the seat of God, we think he's above God, right? People look at the Pope as the God. He said, if I sit in the seat as God, then my son must be the Messiah. Hence, Caesarea Borgia in the depiction. It's synonymous with Serapis Christus, the flower pot god in Egypt. Like the Bible says in Ecclesiastes, the book after Proverbs, the first chapter, it says there's nothing new underneath the sun. The power determined by a vehicle is known as what? Or an automobile is known as what? Horsepower. What have mankind been using for centuries, millenniums, as a means of transportation? A horse and carriage, right? Anyhow, let's get back. So, 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 4. For if he that cometh preacheth another, I'm going to say it, Jesus, I hate that word, whom we have not preached, or if ye receive another spirit which ye have not received, or another gospel which ye have not accepted, ye might well bear with him. Why is that? I'll never forget it. Growing up, you know, my grandmother, she's resting now, but growing up, she passed away at what, 96 or something like that? I don't remember. She almost lived to be 100. But anyhow, she was born in 1927. I remember walking into her house, and right above her chimney, down here in Florida, she had a house with a chimney. She had a picture of Caesarea Borgia. And I no lie to you, in my mind, as a young child, I'm thinking to myself, how can he be the son of God when the same people that look like him abused us or had us in slavery? As a child, I was thinking that, like in my adolescent years, I'm thinking like, how can he be? But I always feared God, a higher power. I remember them days when you seen that big flash of light outside. My grandma would cut everything off electronically, and she would plug everything but the refrigerator or the stove. She would unplug everything and tell everybody to lay down. She say, lay down, God is working. I never forget them days, man. I was raised, you know, to believe in God, but I never went to church my whole life, y'all. Maybe a couple times because Esau persuaded us with juice and cookies to go to Bible study, y'all. And the only other time I ever been to church was for funerals. So for me to know this truth, man, it's really true through the Spirit and power of YAHAWASHI. That's why I truly believe. Because I did not come about this wisdom on my own. It was given to me. It's scary and it's beautiful at the same time. Like, wow. You know? Anyhow, let's get back to it. So I remember that. Her having that depiction over her fireplace. But I could never get with it. Right? So that goes back to this image on the left side of the screen. Jebus, Mao on Caesarea Borgia. It is a picture of a blue eyes European with blonde hair who they maliciously claim to be Jesus Christ. Malicious, malice, meaning that's not good. It was ferocious. It was forced upon us. It was grievous upon us, right? But remember, First Maccabees chapter 3, verse 48. This is in the Apocrypha. And laid open the book of the law wherein the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their images. That's called iconoclasm, whitewashing. I wish I would have had a depiction of the Jesuit priest literally painting pale images of the Messiah and the disciples, but I'm pretty sure y'all got the drift and y'all seen it before, right? But that's the image that they wanted to depict as being the Messiah. I mean, he looked nothing like that. So if I may, and I close out, this is depiction. I know a brother drew this, but he also correlated it with the scriptures. He put Revelation 1 and 14 and 15, but I'm going to read Revelation chapter 1, verse 13 through 15, and I'm going to close out. And in the midst of the seven candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the foot, and girt about the paps with a golden girdle. So, the seven candlesticks will be the seven churches. Garment down to the foot, what we wear out there at camp, our garments, and girt about the paps with a golden girdle. For those of you who know wrestling like WWE, WWF, or WCW, whenever you saw a championship belt, that's what YAHAWASHI had on, a big golden belt. And people don't understand. Like back in those days, you had what? Daggers, arrows, and swords. So the big paps, the big golden belt was really to protect his internal organs from injury. I'm just saying in general. Like, once again, must know the history to know the mystery. But let's get back to it. Revelation chapter 1, verse 14. His head and his hands were white like wool. Notice how they showed you the depiction, how they said that they tried to depict Caesarea Borgia as the Messiah, but having blue eyes and blonde hair. Yeah. His head and the hands were white like wool, meaning like what? Look at the elders of Great Millstone right now. They got gray hairs, but it looks white. You know, I'll never forget the depiction when I saw those wonderful men in the front of a church debating against two other Christian men that was a part of a church that was ran by Edomite. They had not a lick of gray in their hair. Nowadays you see it, you know. So that's pretty much what it means. His head and hairs were white like wool. Wool. Look at a sheep. A sheep has wool, right? Grow your hair if you a J. You'll grow an afro. You even got Afro-Cubans like Gilbert Arenas. Little do you know, he a northerner. Gilbert Arenas is not from Judah. Gilbert Arenas, Agent Zero, the basketball player to play for the Washington Wizards. Look him up. Gilbert Arenas. Even the name Gilbert is Hispanic. It's Spanish, I meant to say. But his father, he's dark J. But nonetheless, though, Gilbert Arenas is from the tribe of Manasseh. Right? So, you know, anyways. So, you know, Afro-Cubans, he even said he's an Afro-Cuban. He claimed that off rip. Anyhow, his head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire. Doesn't mean his eyes was literally like a flame of fire, like he was shooting fire beams out of his eye like Superman or something, or like Cyclops, all right? For those of you who play Marvel vs. Capcom 2, Cyclops had the optic blast. He'll take the glasses off and just laser your ass. Yeah. No, because he used to drink a lot of wine. All right, going back to Genesis 49th chapter. Read that. I think the 12th verse. It says his teeth was white like milk. His eyes was red from wine. Come on now. Verse 15, and his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters. Fine brass, pick up a penny. It's made of copper and brass. Now imagine you toss that into a furnace. It's going to be darker than that. Wesley Snipes. Michael Jordan dark. Yeah. Idris Elba dark. And his voice as the sound of many waters. You know, Jake got a loud. Listen, even at my job, you know, when we be talking about sports or anything, we be bull jiving, we be so loud and boisterous, man, them Edomites be looking, thinking we about to fight. Man, we just talking about sports. We just talking about OG or we know one of the old heads at the job, you know what I'm saying? That's how Jake is, man. Jake is just lively. We sweet as salt. We the flavor of the earth, right? But anyhow, and remember you said voice of many waters. Remember YAHAWASHI had went out into the boat in the water because people kept following him, and he literally was out in the water talking to the people. Do you know how loud, how amplified his voice had to be in order for the sound to reach the shore? Now let that sink in. Alright? But nonetheless, though, with that being said, I pray you will edify and fed, stay in the spirit, don't fear it, just endure it. Ask for forgiveness, pray without ceasing, stay humble, remain diligent. Kwama Allah, Shalom.